It's one of my favorite questions of the university students. Just think, kids, as I'm looking up at them, if you weren't afraid of anything. Nothing. Getting a bad grade, your parents not liking who you go out with, you want to drop out of school but you're afraid to because your dad will beat you. Just think if you weren't afraid of anything on the planet. Nothing. Where would you be? And I ask you the same thing. Steve Jobs was afraid of nothing. Warren Buffett is afraid of nothing. Bill Gates is afraid of nothing. Henry Ford was afraid of nothing. I'm afraid of nothing. And yet those names, and I could name thousands of them like them, continue to succeed, continue to change the world. And the rest of the world, the 99.9% of the world, is afraid to take a...
Most people never pick up the phone and call. Most people never ask. And that's what separates sometimes the people that do things from the people that just dream about them. You gotta act. And you've got to be willing to fail. You've got to be willing to crash and burn. You know, with people on the phone, with starting a company, with whatever. If you're afraid of failing, you won't get very far.
And the guys and the few gals, and they're high-performance gals too, they're not as well known as the guys, and there's not anywhere near as many of them. But Steve was an iconic guy, and he did change the world. Absolutely, he did change the world. And the current CEO, which you're going to talk about in a couple of days, he calls people at 4:30 in the morning. That's when he starts Sunday morning, or actually Monday morning, Sunday night. And all these guys are the same. Success leaves clues. If they're all not like you, what in the is that telling you? If you're not even a drop of sweat dripping down the left testicle of Steve Jobs, what in the is that telling you? How is your program working out? Well, we all know it hasn't. But the key is, can you now do what you know it takes to be one of those kind of persons? That's the real question. And I can see it in your eyes. You're already questioning. Well, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can tell my wife, my girlfriend, well, I can't see you over the weekend, honey. I'm going to be working. I won't be here for Christmas, honey. I know the answer. You don't even have to tell me. Most of you, I can see it in your eyes. I see fear in your eyes. I can smell death in this room.
There's no risk. Now that's why you need to do it young. Now, that's why we started Apple. We said, you know, we have absolutely nothing to lose. I was 20 years old at the time. Woz was 24 or 5. So we have nothing to lose. I mean, we have no families, no children, no houses. Woz had an old car. You know, I had a Volkswagen van. I mean, all we were going to lose is our cars and the shirts off our back. We had nothing to lose, and we had everything to gain. And we figured, even if we crash and burn and lose everything, the experience will have been worth 10 times the cost. So what did we have to lose? There was no risk. And that's, you know, I think that's a very healthy way to look at it. Some people say, well, you could have gone to college and been a lawyer. Well, you're right, but you can go to college and be a lawyer when you're 25. I mean, there's nothing that stops you from doing that. The only thing you really have in your life is time. And if you invest that time in yourself to have great experiences that are going to enrich you, then you can't possibly lose. So I always advise people, don't wait. Do something when you're young, when you have nothing to lose, and keep that in mind. And I think that's the best way.
Kevin also says working 24 hours a day isn't enough anymore. You have to be willing to sacrifice everything to be successful, including your personal life, your family life, maybe more. If you think it's any less, they're wrong and they will fail. Does that sound familiar? And he only just recently came out with this in the last few months. They all think it. but they're trying to paint their legacy. Apparently, Mr. O'Leary doesn't give a about his legacy. You will have the banks and the motivated sellers on their back foot. Does everybody understand that? Off balance, on their back foot, if you follow the scripts. But a lot of you aren't going to follow the scripts and the templates and the processes and the procedures and the systems. Why? Because you've engaged in self-sabotaging activities all your miserable lives, and you don't really deserve. You scraped up the money somehow to get here, but you don't really believe you deserve to be successful.
High performance people don't have to be managed. We were talking about CFOs yesterday. You get a qualified, good CFO, you don't have to tell them what to do or her to do. They know what to do. You get, a CEO or a chief operating officer or a chief marketing officer, or they know what to do. You don't have to manage them. And I said a couple of days ago, I've never been told, well, did you do this, Dan? Did you remember this? Because I've always overperformed. And sometimes I've stuck my tentacles in the other guy's portfolio and I got in trouble, and that's why I got fired a couple of times. Because I was not only managing what I was supposed to manage, well, I can help you and you and you too, because, and they consider that infringement on their territory. Remember, I may be wrong, but I'm never in doubt. And not every person you're going to bring onto your green team is going to work out. Be careful who you piss off. Hitler and Napoleon both failed trying to invade Russia because they were fighting another war at the same time. And that's why I tell you, focus on the few. You cannot fight two wars. If your birthday is August the 4th, that's our first meeting. 8 o'clock at night, August the 4th. Valentine's Day, first meeting. Christmas Eve, first meeting. Rosh Hashanah. Ramadan. And we'll see how many of you show up.